Family, welcome to another episode of Transformed and Renewed. How are you doing? We got a great episode. And so, if you have not been feeling it all this week, I want you to realize that today is a day where you can get inspired with some information and that can really help you with how you live your day to day moving forward. So, if this is your first time checking us out, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget it. Make sure you do it right now while it's fresh on your mind. And once you do that, you'll stay up to date with the content that we'll be releasing as soon as it come out. So that way you don't hear about it from somebody else. You can get that content right from us. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. So tonight we are going to be discussing 5 tips that you can avoid seasonal allergies such as pollen. And so I know that during this month, which is March, and a couple of weeks will actually be the start of spring, but in different places, many people can actually attest to feeling the spring weather already. And even this week, I've seen the pollen, the beginning of that. And so I realized that when it comes to pollen or just different plants, when you think about oak, birch, ragweed, saltgrass, etc., different plants can produce pollen and even have different allergens that can cause symptoms anywhere from itchy, red eyes, runny nose, sneezing, just trying to clear your throat out. And so if you ever seen someone who was just constantly trying to clear their throat out, it can be annoying to hear, but I'm sure for that person, it can also be annoying to keep doing. And sometimes the go-to, you think about, I just want this to end. Well, I do want to share some tips with you because again, when it comes to pollen, which is again produced by most of these plants, and our bodies are not used to processing that pollen that well, especially since this is seasonal. And usually when most people experience pollen or they come in contact with it, your immune system, your body is just not ready for that. And so your body just starts to mount up different attacks. And so that's why, again, you will start to see symptoms or have even had symptoms such as itchy red eyes, runny nose, sneezing, coughing, clearing your throat, etc. Even in some cases having nausea. Okay. And so there are ways that you can avoid these symptoms and even avoid this pollen from just disrupting your day and even your week. Because for some people, symptoms can last from weeks even to months. And we don't want that to happen. And so hopefully these tips that I share with you, you can actually apply them and you can see some changes because even for me applying them last year, I saw them firsthand like, okay, I didn't sneeze as much as I once did like a while ago, or I didn't have like red eyes or a runny nose at a point in my life prior to that. And so, one of the tips when it comes to reducing your exposure to pollen, because again, this is going to help to cut down on symptoms or even at best mitigate. Okay. So, when it comes to pollen, one of the ways that you can avoid it is number one, just staying in the house. Because if you already know that it's going to be sunny weather, or even if it's cloudy, if you know that the pollen count is going to be high, and you can also learn of this information from, looking at the news, the meteorologists who may give the update, or even just checking the weather app and just seeing what is the pollen count. Because from that can give you some information that you likely would have known beforehand. So when it comes to that, staying at home or just staying put, so you don't even have to get exposed to that pollen. You can just stay where you're at, and that is one way actually. And you may have thought that it was something complicated. No, it's not that complicated. It's just simple. Just stay put. You don't have to go out. It's again, especially if you already know that it's going to be a high pollen count. And number two, but if you know that you have to go out, you want to be prepared. And with that is you want to make sure that you are protecting your body. And this can be in several areas. One is you can protect your head, especially if you have a lot of loose hair, even if you have just low cut like myself, it's still good to protect your head because once you're outside, that pollen can get onto anything. Um, Head, eyes, so wearing shades, even a mask. So get that mask out because that pollen is first going to get into your nose because you're breathing constantly, not even thinking about it. But if you are in an environment that is just pollen infested, okay, it's filled with pollen outside. If you already are in that environment, you just want to reduce it. And so wearing a mask, one or two, however many, as long as you can breathe. But it is good to wear a mask, wear some shades, wear some headwear, as well as wear like long clothing. Now, again, I don't want you to burn up because I'm aware that in different places the temperatures can be pretty hot. But if you can wear some long sleeve, well, today I actually have on a sweater, but something that is long sleeve, but not too thick, and even like long pants, okay? No shorts, just long pants. This is going to help reduce that pollen being in contact with your skin, okay? Even closed shoes, so like socks, full shoes. So you want to be fully clothed, fully dressed if you're going to be in a pollen environment outside. And this is again going to help reduce your exposure to that pollen. And so moving on to number three is at some point you have to go back home. And before you actually go inside the house, you have to be mindful that, I've been in an environment where there was pollen, and most people can't see pollen because pollen it can be very fine. But when you look at your car, especially if you've been inside a building for a day, or even if you just gone outside, you've noticed that there's some pollen because you start to see like this thin film that's yellow, and you may see this film, or it may even be in the air where it's windy. You will start to see like yellow particulates. Okay. And so one thing about it is if you've been walking or moving, you may not see it, but that doesn't mean that the pollen is not on you. And so that means even before you get inside your house, coming up with a preventative plan in terms of, okay, I've got pollen, and I already know that if I inhale this too much, I'm going to start exhibiting some symptoms, yet alone if I have family, they are going to start exhibiting some symptoms. So what should I do? Well, one thing is you want to, at least for me, we have a kind of like a mud room, a mud area. And so this is a small room. But even before we even get to that room, we have a garage. And so I would say taking off your clothes, okay? If you have a closed space, I'm going to say that. Not if you have windows outside. I don't want you to get a ticket or somebody call the police on you, but be mindful of that. But if you do have a place that is secluded, then I would recommend just removing your clothes because again, that pollen is going to be on your clothes because you've been outside. Clothes, shoes, and I guess kind of in that same line is you can even kind of like dust your clothes off even before you get inside the house, or even kind of like wiping yourself down. But you also want to make sure that that dust is not building up. So ideally, you would want to do this, outside, especially when it's not too windy, because the windier it is, that is a word, then that means that pollen is still could be coming back to you. So again, that's the way that I typically have done it is, I may take off my clothes, or again, when it hasn't been as windy, I may just do a light shake on my clothes. And so that way, anything that's on there, it doesn't get inside the house. And so afterwards, I will take those clothes that pretty much are pollen infested and I'll just wash them. So that way, they don't have a trail throughout your home or any place where you're going to be residing for the evening. And in that same line, okay, step number three or tip number three, make sure that if you have to wash your clothes or you have to take off your clothes, wash yourself. Okay, so that means every part of you, head, everywhere, full body wash. Okay, you want to make sure you're washing yourself. Okay, when it comes to pollen, it has no respect, okay, to anybody. It can get on you, it can get on grandma, it can get on your best friend. So that means that it's important for you to really wash your body, because otherwise you could be going to bed and you could be tracking that pollen in your sheets, your comforters, okay? The towel that you use, it could be trapping that pollen. And especially if you reuse it again, you're pretty much washing yourself or wiping yourself off with pollen. Pollen wash, okay? We don't need no pollen wash, okay? So again, make sure that you are, washing your clothes, removing your clothes, and then also making sure that you are washing your body, okay? Moving on to tip 4, which is you want to make sure that you have good filters in your home, so air filters. And this can even go for your car. Make sure that your car has good filtration, or just filters. And so usually for me, I like to get the higher end air filters, because they are going to come more equipped to really block out a lot of those pollen, dust, allergens, smoke, odor, etc. But if you are picking out filters, you want to look for those filters that are going to get rid of or at least trap that pollen, so allergens. It may show that on the label, but make sure that you are paying attention to your filters, because sometimes you can get a filter and you can think one size is going to do everything I need, but that doesn't necessarily mean the case. And so you want to ensure that you are paying attention to that. I know different air filters, um, HEPA filters have different ratings, and usually the higher the rating, the better quality it is. And so I am going to encourage you, don't think about money. Of course, you always want to focus on your budget, but when it comes to safety, that is something that I always believe that you can't negotiate, okay? Because you can either pay $20 for a filter, just giving an example, or you can pay $200 to treat whatever issue you have. But that could have been mitigated if you would just paid the $20 and got a decent quality filter. Again, this is just an example. So again, when it comes to filters, make sure that you're getting good quality. And even if you don't have like the traditional central air unit in your home, they also have those air air conditioners, the portable ones that you can put in your room. But again, you want to make sure that your filter is good, that it is actually filtering out those allergens that could irritate you, especially when you're trying to sleep at night. There's nothing worse than when a person is trying to sleep, long day, and it's hard for you to sleep because you are up with an itchy throat, itchy eyes, and just sneezing, coughing, trying to clear your throat. That can be very irritating. And so these are just some ways that can help you to eliminate that, because it's good to get your sleep, okay? It's bad when you have to stay up and trying to, clear that up, okay? And so the last tip is, so we went over, staying at home, which of course is always the best tip. But if you do have to go out, make sure that you protect your body. And then, which was step 2 or tip 2. And then tip 3 is, coming home, make sure that you wash your clothes, wash your body. Tip 4 is, of course, making sure that you are cleaning out your your air filters. And then tip 5 is making sure that you just close your doors and your windows. I know sometimes when there is good weather, and especially when it's sunny outside, it's very tempting to open up the windows, get some fresh air in. But you always want to be mindful. Again, if you know that the pollen count for that day is going to be high, keep those windows closed and those doors closed as much as possible, because otherwise you could be inviting pollen to get into your house, and then 1 minute you are feeling well, and then 30 minutes later, you're just coughing and just sneezing uncontrollably. So just some simple ways that you can prevent that. And I haven't even gotten into some other tips, but these are additional tips. I know that, again, when it comes to seasonal allergens, it's never fun. And one tip that I recommend, but I wouldn't say I would use as a go-to, but I will say it is available. Is I know that some individuals take medicine, so it can be anywhere from seasonal allergen medications such as Zysol and some other ones Make sure that you are reading the labels, knowing exactly what are in these medicines or in these um, drugs, because you want to make sure that whatever you put into your body is not going to have a counterattack on a different part of your body. But again, I do know that these can provide a quick relief. But there are some other ways, which I like to be more into nature and understanding what are some, non medication or some non prescriptions that can actually help. And I know that there are different foods. So you will likely hear me talk about fruits, vegetables, whole foods. Why? Because a lot of these have nutrients that can pretty much get your body into a state to where it's already prepared for, I won't say the worst, but it's pretty much in a condition to where it's prepared. And so you have so many nutrients when you think about fruits and vegetables, from lycopene that's in plants that are red, such as tomatoes, even bell peppers. And then you have sulforaphane, which is an anti-cancer component that can be found in cruciferous vegetables. Again, a lot of these have different benefits in the body, but at the same time, they're helping to fortify your body in such a way to where even if you were exposed to an allergen, your experience of it won't be as bad compared to someone who wasn't consuming a lot of these foods that are nutritious and even contain a lot of phytochemicals that have benefits beyond what are typically listed on the label. So again, these are just some recommendations to reduce or even mitigate your exposure to seasonal allergens, okay? Because it's coming up, it's already here. I've seen it. I've seen the pollen starting to build up on my car, but gratefully it rained today, and so it washed whatever was on my car off. But I know that as it starts to warm up, I'm going to start seeing more pollen. So again, if you do have to go out, make sure that you're covering your body, your face with a good quality face mask, even investing in some shades if you don't already have some good shades for your eyes. And these are also going to help protect your eyesight, because you may not realize, but pollen can be so small to where it gets into your eyes and you start to rub your eyes and you don't know why you are rubbing your eyes. But that's because that pollen has attacked those eyes, okay? And so one way, again, to prevent that is making sure that you protect your eyes, your whole body, okay? You want to think ahead versus have a retroactive approach. You want to be proactive. You want to think forward. You want to be able to know what's coming. So that way, when you are actually in that environment, you can be like, you know what, learn something today. I'm gonna apply it, and then once I get home, I'm not going to even have these symptoms because I was prepared in advance. Okay, so if you enjoyed this, make sure you give us a thumbs up, because again, I enjoy sharing this content with you because I want to see you at your best. So if this was your first time checking us out, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Again, like and subscribe. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms because we are coming coming with more content for you. So I want you to make sure you tune in because we are just continuing to bless you with some solid content, with truthful content. And we hope that you enjoy this. And again, if you have any recommendations, any questions that you have, make sure you send us a message. We would love to get your feedback because we always are seeking ways that we can improve, and your voice, your feedback can actually help us with providing more quality content. So again, make sure you follow up with us with some feedback, and until next time, I will talk with you later.